Today I'm talking about strength training, and I want to help you cut through the confusion and discover what actually works for women over 40. So this is for you if you are confused by all the talk about strength training for women over 40. You know that you need to do it for your bone density, for your muscle strength, muscle maintaining as you age, for your metabolism, for looking lean and toned, but you don't know where to start, or you've started already, which is great, but you're not sure if you're doing things the most effective way. A lot of menopause influencers will say for women to build muscle or to get stronger in perimenopause or menopause, we need to be lifting heavy. You might have heard that term a lot if you've been in this space for a little while, if you've been watching what the experts for women over 40 are talking about, that we need to lift heavy. And the problem with that is that even the term or the word heavy is quite ambiguous and it can be confusing. So heavy for me is going to be different to heavy for you. Heavy for 1 rep is different to heavy for 20 reps. So I'm going to explain exactly how to interpret that and what that means for your training. There are some experts who are even super specific about how many reps heavy means, that you should be lifting 4 sets of 4 reps for each muscle group or 5 sets of 5 reps for an exercise. So in a minute, I'm going to tell you why this is possibly not the best advice to listen to and what to do instead. Now, I think their intentions are good, and I think the fact that we have got strength training on this world stage and that more women know that strength training is so crucial as we age for, like I said, maintaining bone density, for building muscle, for staying strong and lean as we get older, that is amazing. That we definitely are a big fan of. But what I feel has happened is that it's got a little bit muddled. The waters have got muddied and it's become a little bit overcomplicated. And I think a lot of the time we're confusing women and possibly putting them in danger unnecessarily. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. So first, let's talk about what the evidence tells us when it comes to strength training. And that is this, that an effective rep range for each exercise is in the realm of 5 to 30 reps for muscle building. That's for men and for women, including women over 40. And the studies have shown us this time and time again. Now, there's one important caveat when it comes to that rep number. We want to take those sets close to failure each time. So what I mean by that is whether you're doing 5 reps or you're doing 30 reps, you want to get to the point where the last 2 or 3 reps of each set feels really challenging. So I think this is really helpful to use this word challenging instead of the word heavy, because challenging is relative to you, to me, to anyone who is doing their strength training. Challenging is a relative term. It's relative to the person. It gives more context. So if you were to do a set of squats, for example, and I asked you to do 5 or 6 more reps with the weight that you are currently using with good form, very important caveat, that it has to be with good form, you physically couldn't do it. Your form would slip or you just couldn't get out any more reps. At the weight you're using, with the number of reps you're doing, you could only get to maybe 2 or 3 more reps with that weight. So if you're doing 10 reps and you're using, say, 10 kilos in each hand, to get to 12 or 13 would be a real struggle, and the last couple of reps for each set feels really challenging. So here's where I have an issue with the recommendation to lift heavy and the implication there being that 3 to 5 rep range, as that being the best or the only way for women to build muscle or get stronger after 40. So I've been training women for nearly 15 years, and I know that many women, especially if you're over 40, have niggles or injuries or painful joints or tendon issues, or are just not adequately conditioned enough, just because you haven't lifted weights for your whole life or for the last decade or two, to lift those loads safely at the intensity I just mentioned. That's within those 2 to 3 reps to failure. So for example, I've got clients who are objectively strong enough to deadlift 60 kilos for 5 reps. But if their hips or back or shoulders, etc., can't support that load for 5 reps safely, then they might get injured. The worst thing for strength training, for building muscle and for getting stronger as we age, is to be out of action completely for a long time. So if ever you've had an injury that has put you out of action for a short or a long time, you'll know you go backwards a bit when you're out of action. We don't want that. We want consistency over time. So we want to be lifting at a challenging range, a challenging weight, but lifting in a range and in a way that is safe and that we're not going to injure ourselves from doing that. I think also knowing this, so for example, the woman that I mentioned, she's strong enough to deadlift 60 kilos for 5 reps, but if she knows that maybe her elbow joints won't support that, or her back is a little niggly and won't support the 60 kilos, she might be hesitant to lift that heavy. So instead she'll do, say, 40 kilos for 5 reps, but because they're strong enough to do 60 for 5 reps, they're not creating that intensity that's going to push you to the point to get stronger and build muscle. So the great thing is here, the evidence shows us, as I mentioned before, that we don't have to lift 3 to 5 reps to get stronger and build muscle. We've got up to 30 reps at the right intensity can still grow muscle. The obvious downside of lifting much lighter and going up to that 30 rep range is that it takes a lot longer and potentially can create more fatigue. So if you're taking every set to 30 reps and you're doing 3 sets of every exercise and it takes you an hour and a half, you're probably going to be pretty tired by the end of it. So it takes longer, it can create some more fatigue. So the happy medium is somewhere in that 6 to 15 rep range. There's no hard and fast, this is where it starts, this is where it stops. But somewhere in the middle is the happy medium. So we're lifting heavy enough that the last few reps are challenging, but not so heavy that we're doing it in an unsafe way that is going to injure us. How we structure our lifting set or our lifting session has also been a point of contention among the experts for a long time. And I want to touch on that quickly because a new study has just come out in the last couple of days actually that addresses this. So the purists, the strength training purists, have argued for a long time that the most effective form of strength training to get stronger, to grow muscle, is your traditional strength training, where it's heavy loads, fewer reps, long rest between sets. But there's this recent study, as I mentioned, came out in the last day or two by Sohi Carpenter, her name is. She is amazing. If you want to follow someone who is the leader in her field, which is basically women's strength training, women's training, she's fantastic. She's on Instagram as Sohi Fit. So she did a study testing high intensity circuit training, so circuit strength training, not cardio. So your superset circuit style of strength training versus traditional strength training in trained women. And what she found, I thought, was very interesting and also very validating as someone who has advocated for this form of training for a long time. And that was that both forms of training, the traditional strength training and the high intensity circuit training, found or saw equal improvements in strength, in lean body mass and in fat loss amongst trained women. So that is women who have done some form of training before. They're not brand new to strength training. But the upside of the circuit style training is it takes less time. As I mentioned, we don't have to have those really long rests between sets. So we get the same outcome, same results for less time, which I think is a win-win. It's one of the reasons, as I said, I've always programmed circuit training for my clients, my online and my in-person clients. More bang for your buck. You're getting the same outcome, getting stronger, building muscle, losing body fat for less time. So a win-win. Hope that was helpful. If you have any other questions or there's something I didn't cover or something that's unclear, please leave your questions in the comments. Happy to come back in and answer them later. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.